The second you make a little extra investment to up level and to be your best, you take it more seriously. And until you do that, it's questionable. Like we've all tried to skimp out and take the cheap way. But fuck, I'll tell you, and I tell this from experience, I just spent $3,000, like straight up $3,000 to join a business course. But I know that that $3,000, the reason I'm doing that is I'm investing in myself, I'm investing in Laughing Vikings, and I'm investing in that business coaching with the intention that's going to bring me 6 figures and 7 figures and that silent yacht. So I can't be skimping the $3,000. That $3,000 is more me locking in my decision that, you know what, I'm fucking serious about this, and I'll take that money. And now that I've taken it and I've spent it, now like I gotta act accordingly to fulfill that $3,000. Otherwise, I just waste $3,000. And I think everyone's like, how many courses have you taken? You don't finish the work, or how many books have you read where you don't actually implement everything? Like
I don't ever think you implement everything that's ever in a book, or that you ever implement. You take the pieces that end up working for you.
Of course.
Not everything is ever going to resonate with you. I remember in university, well, we would always do like vocal warm-ups and always do like the Chekhov psychological gesture, which is basically like implying a gesture to imply what's going on in the scene.
Right.
And so that was very much, we were supposed to be doing that. But I remember a story that a guest artist told me once, where she said that there was this lady, a very famous actress. I don't remember her name, but what she did before every show is she'd have a cigarette and go, all right, I'm ready. And like that sort of opened my mind into the possibilities that you didn't have to do everything that all these teachers and acting professionals were telling you to do.
Right.
You had to do what was right for you in that moment before you either go on stage, go on set, do whatever you have to do in the acting industry, or wherever you're working. It doesn't matter what. But like the more you figure out what works for you to get you through to the next level, to get you through to where you dream of being, that's what you need to be focusing on. The more you focus on you and focus on what you can control, the better outcome you're going to have.
Right. Yeah. And certainly it's a ridiculous notion to think that you're ever going to align with someone so perfectly that everything they say you're going to implement and you're going to be exactly like them, because then you're not really being true to yourself. You're trying to be a copycat of someone else. So what you really need to do is just try and take the nuggets and the pearls of wisdom, incorporate them into your own. But there is something to say, if you want your life to change, it's going to change from first thinking differently, and then as a result of that thinking, taking new actions that you didn't do. You're not going to become someone new by doing the things that you've done to get you to wherever you are today. Just the law of cause and effect doesn't work that way. So if you want the life of what someone other than you has, you kind of got to figure out what that pool of people is doing and has done throughout their lives. That's why taking courses and reading books and reading biographies and listening to interviews, all that stuff informs you. But at the end of the day, you figure out what works with you, and you do the things that works for you, and hopefully that does the trick for you. But it also takes time and it takes an investment, and Tom
and patience.
And some patience. But the patience can come once if you've set that plan. Okay, I'm going to be the best. How long is it going to take me? 20 years. What am I going to do in those 20 years? Week by week, month by month, or these are the daily habits. The patience comes and the knowing comes from that, because like if I were to set up a plan of like, okay, I'm going to eat clean. These are the clean meals I'm going to eat every day. I'm going to exercise for an hour every day. The outcome is inevitable. It's inevitable. It's cause and effect. You don't need to think at that point like, am I ever going to be healthy? It's like you just need to stick to your guns, and it's going to be inevitable. And I think that really does apply to any field. That's really the simplest way to do it, is look long term. That's not to say that your life can't change in a heartbeat. And that is one of the nice things about entertainment, is right time, right place, right role. People do pop, and all of a sudden that 10 years of work turns into what appears to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
But if you set long-term goals like that, then it's just you have this knowing. You're like, I know I'm going to be successful, and I'm already successful. And you should also have a little bit of it's not just the outcome. Like, it's a little bit of, you got to do it for the love of the game as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not just, I'm not going to be enjoying myself till I have an Oscar or I have a silent yacht. It's I'm enjoying every day of it for what it's worth, and the learning and the growth and the fun
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. But I know that I'm working towards something, and you're following in a plan, and then you just kind of, you can let go and just trust, and not get hung up in the how of things. I think a lot of, like, focus on what you want to get, and more, maybe more so why you want it.
Mm-hmm.
For you, what reasons, like, what are the real reasons that you want to be doing whatever you're doing, and then kind of let the how work itself out. Like, don't get bogged down. It has to go in this order, it has to
Oh
be
yeah.
this thing or these
Mm-hmm.
people or this show, because we don't really have any control over that. And
No.
if you try and be a control freak over that stuff, it just drives you crazy, and everything, like, you'll just feel like nothing's going the way you wanted to plan it. But you can't plan most of life. Shit just happens, and you got to react to it for the most part.
And what I've also found is if you focus on one small aspect and like just do that one thing over and over and over again, eventually it's going to become something that becomes a strength for you, even if it was a weakness before.
Right.
Because the more repetition you're doing it, I think it's 21 days to build a habit and 90 days to build a lifestyle.
Sure.
Think of it that way, where you're memorizing something or you're rehearsing every day for 90 days. And then eventually you'll have to do it because your body will say, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing today. You know that you have to do this for 20 minutes or whatever it is. But like, the more you focus on those 20 minutes, and it's good to set yourself a timer for like 20 minutes, rehearse, do something, do anything acting related, and focus on it for 20 minutes. That's it.
Right.
And eventually those 20 minutes will add up to something that's so much greater than you ever could have imagined.
Right. Yeah. You hear Malcolm Gladwell has his book 10,000 Hours, where he's sort of his sort of hypothesis is that any level of mastery in any field generally takes around 10,000 hours. People argue you can do it faster, you can do it slower, but it is the idea of a certain amount of time and energy is just going to pay off over time. I've heard other people too, when it comes to your dreams or whatever projects, is just at minimum try to do like 3 things a day that just move the ball forward. Like, you don't even, doesn't have to be major things. Like, if you want to say you wanted to start a business, or you wanted to become an actor, if you want to start a business, maybe you read an article about business, maybe you open a business bank account, maybe you register your website. If you're an actor, maybe you read a book on acting, maybe you look up some workshops in your area, maybe you join a community. So just all these little things, and then that kind of, it takes the pressure off of being like, oh my God, I'm not where I want to be yet. So just these little incremental, because it's growth is what we're all striving for. Like, everyone at any level, you could be the richest person, most quote unquote successful person, but if you're at a point where you're no longer growing, those are the people who they have everything and they're completely unhappy because they just reached this level and they're like, okay, now what? I got a sick pool, I got a sick yacht, I got all the money in the world, I've got all the credits in the world, I'm super famous, I got everything, now what? But as soon as they stop growing, they stop challenging themselves, they didn't look. Like, you get at the top of the mountain, it's not the top of the mountain. You get to that top and you're like, oh shit, there's something up there now.
Yeah.
And everyone has that experience. Like, professional athletes, like someone like Michael Jordan, for example, wins everything, top of his game, like couldn't go any higher. But at some point he retires, and then he has the rest of his life to do something. So then what does he do? You know, or Tiger Woods, like, they've all been to the top of the mountain, but they have a shit ton of the rest of their life to go through. And often they end up being very unhappy because all they knew, their entire identity was in that one thing, versus maybe their identity is just tied up in constant growth, you know, whatever it is. I just want to keep growing, keep changing, keep challenging myself, keep getting better. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
We're all just doing our best though, you know. And if you need to, every once in a while, you just need to curl up in a ball on a couch and cry out a day. But then,
Sometimes you need to do that.
Don't make those days too regularly, or I would say something Tony Robbins says is decreasing the amount of time. Like he talks about being in a beautiful state, which would be like joy and love, versus being in a state of suffering, which would be anger or frustration or doubt or those kind of things. And he says, we're humans, so like until we're fully on cyborgs and AI, we're always going to have human emotions and feelings. He talks about just decreasing the amount of time. Like, don't let yourself stay in that shitty state for as long. Shorten the amount of time. Like, yeah, maybe bask in it, play the old Eeyore thing and mope and grope and moan, but then realize, okay, like snap out of it, and it's time to move forward again, you know. And then also, like, what feels better? Do you want to feel good, or do you want to feel bad? And for the most part, we're pretty much in control of that.